That's good. That's a perfect feature now for the people to see. Good. Yeah, now we're ready. Just tell me when you're ready with the camera, then I can start. Is your microphone working?
Hello.
Yes, it's that's good. I will. Okay. Okay, let's get going then. If you can put it onto make sure we're being recorded and make sure it goes onto the YouTube. Yeah. Oh, it already is. Okay, good. Okay, welcome everybody. It's really a pleasure to be in this final session of the CGIAR Pavilions program for 2 weeks. In this, we are in the packed auditorium here in Riyadh. And this is the session where we're going to be talking about scaling innovations for healthier land, livelihoods and livestock in East Africa. And I'm really pleased. We were hoping that Ken or Laureen would join, but I'm really very pleased that we have 3 top-notch speakers here. We have Dr. Dereji Wakjira. He is the director, am I pronouncing your name? Wakjira, yeah? He's the director of the IGAD Center for Pastoral Areas and Livestock Development, ICPALD, very well-known place. We have Guyo Malicha Roba. He works for the International Livestock Research Institute, and he's head of the Jamil Observatory for Food Security Early Action. And we have Dr. Tahira Mohammed, also working with ILRI and the Jamil Observatory, where she is a postdoctoral researcher. And she's also involved in a program called Spark, which is funded by the UK government. Okay, so what we're going to do, I want to just introduce our agenda. So yesterday we had a session where we explored the wider investment opportunities for healthier dry lands. Yeah. And we came up then in that group, we had some presentations, we had some discussion, we had some informal group, and people came up and they said, what are the critical elements of healthy rangelands and drylands? The way livestock is managed. We talked about land rights, land ownership, land tenure. We talked about mobility of people, mobility of animals. We talked about water access. We talked about markets. We talked about business opportunities, inclusion. And there was this notion of co-benefit, making really transparent. And coming from different parts of the audience, we heard a lot about this notion of a holistic approach, the kind of the water piece, soil nexus, lots of different nexus, but this notion of holistic approaches. People tend to come at it, they come from a water, or they come from a livestock, they come from a land, and we need to bring it all together. So today we're going to continue the conversation. Dr. Dereji is new on our panel, so that's super. And we're going to really zoom in on what are some of the specific innovations that are happening or are necessary that we can scale for healthier dry lands. And we will focus on East Africa. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to have short introductions from each of you. And I'd like you, when you introduce yourself, to say, what are some of the innovations? Where do we need innovation most in terms of food security and livestock development and in the drylands, rangelands of East Africa? Dr. Dereji, let me ask you first. Maybe you can introduce yourself, but I don't know whether you can already think where is innovation most needed? We will talk afterwards about what innovations we have, but where do we need the most innovations?
Thank you very much, Peter. My name is Dereji Wakjira. As you have introduced, I'm the director for IGAD Center for Pastoral Areas and Livestock Development. I am here with a very seasoned people who have been, right from their life into the system. They can talk a lot. I will highlight 3 issues from my part and leave to them. Yesterday we have talked about, all those issues that have been priority and how to move forward. And the core is the land. The core is the land because one of the problem we have is feed, which affect everything. The feed is coming from the land, and the land is the rangeland, but that is not in a healthy status, or its ecological capacity has not been met. We have technologies already for age, people have been doing it. What is this now? Is one particular example is, feed comes in different form. You have 85% of what animal need is a ravage, which is over the landscape. That you need to do something to get better out of it in terms of quality, in terms of quantity. So we need to work. Over years, people have been doing, looking at the seeds, the grass seeds are one of the different things, and its business has not been very much evolved. So that is one value chain that we need to look. We need to the marketing side, the information side, the access side to be really enhanced so that you do something to the land. And one example. The second area is most of the feed processing have been advanced. You can't carry the whole bulk of seed the bulk of feed when you need it at critical time. It has to be densified. It has to be nutrient rich. That kind of processing technologies are also there. For livestock, for pastoralists, that's also needed. There is a critical time that's needed, and the time that when the landscape is not providing, you need to provide alternative for production, for reproduction, as well as also for maintenance. I leave that, and one of the things that we call it's a process. It's you can say an innovation. It's participatory range land management that we really need to pick it up because it is time demanding. It's an institution building. It is learning together and working together for a long time that we need to scale up that because it allows us to work at the landscape level. It allows us to secure right to particular community for specific key ecosystem. It secures rule of engagement for that. That is one area that I highlight. The second area is market. In market also, we develop a couple of things. It just remain in office. It just remain within, I can say the elites. What is this now? We need to move forward. Market information system so that this opaque thing will not be there and people know transparently what their animal fetch. And justly, the livestock producers are not getting what they're supposed to get. And that discourage reinvestment into the land, reinvestment into the livestock sector. So we need to be a little bit work on information system, as well as also, segmenting market. If I keep my animal healthy, within 1 year and below, a good goat, why do I sell with the same price with a goat that is kept for 2 years and without any care? So there must be a market segmentation, that kind of information where buyers and sellers will have interface in a simple way will be one innovation areas. So that getting good price again, drive investment back. And the third area is animal health. There are a lot of things happening, you go with your animal for 3 days and 4 days and something encounter you. There must be an easy way where you report so that you get advice. That's also an IT. It's here and there, but not really too much coordinated. And that's the 3 things that I want to throw. Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you, Reggie. So we heard about the land management, the element of participation, feed, but also feed processing. And then the markets, the market information, those are some of the key areas. And this notion you said something about, we have the innovations in the office, but they're not yet in the rangelands, I suppose. Okay, thanks very much. Let's have the same. Guyo, could you maybe introduce yourself, remind us of who you are? And again, where do we need innovation? Where are we? You don't have to tell us which innovation, where do we need it?
Okay, thank you very much. I think my name is Guyo Roba. I head Jamil Observatory for Food Security Early Action, which is a project implemented in collaboration with the University of Edinburgh, which is the lead, ILRI, Save the Children UK, JPAL, and Community Jamil, which is also our donor and investment partner. So, yeah, I think you asked a very critical question, where innovation is required. I think I'll answer this in a slightly different way. Where we stand today, if you take stock of pastoral system, there are a number of pressures, there are a number of problems that people face. And I think within a project or within a program, we tend to create small micro innovations. I think there are a few areas which I can highlight quite quickly. One, I think in the pastoral areas, we've been facing unprecedented drought, climatic challenges and shocks. And this is contributing to huge livestock asset loss, which is not just livestock, but it's a loss of income, loss of livelihood, loss of nutrition, and all those things. So for me, I think one area where innovation is required is in this realm of early warning, upscaling early warning, with the improvement in artificial intelligence, with improvement in all the modeling that for predicting shocks and etc. I think we need to put a lot of effort in that space so that people are, one, informed about forthcoming shock, two, they have choices on what to do with the animals, and I think three, I think what Dr. Dereja said, which is around market for taking animals. So that's one area. The other area, I think, because of the climatic issue and also what we call anthropogenic issues, which human-induced challenges, the landscape has been transforming for quite a long time. In pastoral areas, as a herder, I know a number of grass species that has completely disappeared. I think maybe you have, when you look at the last 30, 40 years, you have only remaining 20% of grass, indigenous grass with very good grazing potential. It has a very better palatability and all these things. And I think when you look at around projects, there are very many innovations around, reinventing indigenous grass seeds through developing seed banks, and that I think is in the space of fodder security that he referred to. That's one area. Basically, having a sustainable fodder in times of need and having a healthy rangeland, which so it requires both investment in seed banking, in wider rangeland management. The other area I think which will require innovation is in the space of animal and fodder genetics. I think there are many research done within ILRI and associated institutions that have evolved in terms of more resilient, looking for more resilient animals in the face of protracted shocks. But I think, unfortunately, some of these things are much within institution. It hasn't made its really good ways into the community. So, and I think breeding for resilience in my own world, it means looking within the animals that pastoralists have and look out for animals with good genetic make that is owned by people and try to replicate so that you have overall better, animal compositions that will manage the overall shock loss from the shocks. So this space is also very important for I think innovation within pastoral areas. So I think there are many areas. I could go on and on. I think I'll stop there and then leave my colleague to.
That's good. So I'm trying to refresh. So it's around the early warning, the market intelligence, the kind of the natural, I don't know what the biodiversity, the grasslands, the diversity of those grasses and the grasslands.
Oh, the security, yeah.
And then the animal, the livestock populations themselves, and the fodder, the resilience there. And again, you emphasize the same point in a sense. This has been done in maybe in Nairobi rather than with the animals of the communities themselves. This resilience, breeding for resilience. Yeah, I think I heard you say that. This notion that the research is being done, but it's not being done with the animals that are in the pastoralist hands.
Yeah, I think it's the location of where these innovations happen.
Yeah.
I think if you look at, most pastoralists are not at the center in many countries that you are in. They are, far away. And I think investment within government has not also taken level where you have public, let's say, for instance, public animal improvement center or private animal improvement center or animal development centers. So basically, if you don't have community-based program that you work with communities to propagate this, then whatever you do remain very much a bit detached from the community. And I think that's where the real issue is. Maybe we can come to that. Yep.
Okay, let's move over to Tahira. Tahira, could you do the same? Introduce yourself and pick a few. Where do we need innovation from your experience? From your experience, from your perspective, where do we see in terms of this the agri-food food security system in drylands?
Thank you very much, Peter. Most of the points have already been said, but a few things that I can add is, number one is locally led innovations. What I mean by this is they are existing innovation that the communities already have, and some of it have been useful and even enhanced their resilience to different shocks and crises. So the innovations that need to support this must be led by this community, especially in different settings, some of them far from town, some of them even like in a very heterogeneous systems. For example, within the context of Horn of Africa or even Kenya drylands, access to energy is something very important. Animals are reared in a very remote area and they are not like near marketplaces. How can we have innovation that can link this animal in a very remote area to market? One thing is improved infrastructure. That means if we have good road network, if we have, for example, mobile connection, because most of these pastoralist herders, we think they are backward, but they are very much vibrant, they are very much reliable, and they depend on these technologies. Like, for example, in Kenya, they use M-Pesa to send money. And if the places that the animals are located are not covered by network, then they cannot access market, number one. And secondly, most of these places, the road network is very bad. And since it is very far, the animals are, then the milk and the produce are wasted there because they cannot reach market. So technology or any innovation should look at how markets specifically is located in accessible places. So for me, the thing is understanding the existing innovation and also providing facility that link them to the market. And then thirdly, in regard to climate information services, these days, because of the linkages to anticipatory action, there is rush towards having climate information. But the question is this climate information accessible and usable to community? So innovation should, as Peter said, be holistic. Look at who uses it. Is it accessible? In what language? And does the impact like be scaled to different location and to different places? I think I can stop it here.
You started off with the connectivity, in a sense, the kind of the digital connectivity, phones and all those things, but also the road connectivity. Can you say something? I know you've been working quite a lot with women's groups and value chains. I mean, is there any, I mean, do we need, is there innovation necessary there, or they're all doing fine? I mean, that's already, I mean, is there anything particular we need to be focusing on in terms of the inclusion, young people, for women?
Yeah, thank you so much. As you said, yeah, I was working with the women in milk value chain cooperative in northern Kenya. And in this milk value chain, it's basically managed by women who collect milk from the rural area, and the milk is sent to major markets, including even market in Nairobi and also in major towns like Nyanyuki. And this market is connected by young people with motorcycle means of transportation. So what happened is, for example, these people, sometimes they're given like solar generated, solar supported cooling plant, but sometimes it doesn't have maintenance facility in those areas. So that's why I was saying, if we give innovation, like some of them are already there. For example, cooling facility is very important because of the long distance that the milk travel, and also because the milk can go bad because the hygiene and facilities are not very much well developed. So what is important in this value chain is how to make this like very much accessible. And in addition to this, among the camel value chain, one thing that is not known in camel system is the unknown camel disease that is emerging. There is a lot of unknown death within camel population, and like even pastoralists do not know, and the vets even are struggling with this. So innovation and research needs to be brought to this area, because once we don't have healthy camel, then we cannot have the value chain, and all the innovation we contribute to improving this will not be useful.
So what I'm hearing is, in the sense that there are already many innovations, however, they're held back in a way by some of these infrastructure issues. But this new thing about the camels is interesting, because that's something people are wanting to invest more in camels because they're more resilient, perhaps. But actually, there's this health challenge. So, and I think Dr. Dereji had also mentioned the animal health piece. Okay, let's go on now. We've covered a lot of different things. I'm going to ask you now, let's dive a bit deeper. I'd like to know, are there, coming out of all of this, what are one or two specific innovations that you say, this is ready, this is something which we should really, you mentioned many different things. What would be the most important things right now where there's a real potential to scale? Maybe we start with Guyo and then I come on to Dr. Dereji. Guyo, where do we see, I don't know, scalable, ready to go? I mean, we've heard before sometimes that the innovations are there waiting to go. Which are these innovations, and how do we get them from the waiting room to delivery?
Yeah, okay, thanks. I think there are many innovations in principle in all these areas that I mentioned, but I think I can mention two. I think for me, this is my gut feeling. They are, if we look around in the same area that I mentioned, really in the range space, there's a lot of opportunities for pulling together all the tested options for group-based, grass production, seed propagation, creation of fodder bank. This has really brought two opportunities. One is opportunities for restoring the land, but then also it has opportunity of putting real money in the pocket of the people who are working in that space. Our colleague in CRDD in Marsabit have this project called Seed for Range. And it's very popular. It's a small project when it started, but now very popular because the women group that are involved in the seed productions have actually plenty that they have now produced, and they wonder where to take the seeds. So I think the whole idea is when you create innovation, you need to create market for that innovation so that the innovators don't die before the first birthday. So in that space, I think for the grass, I think there's a sure space. If you look at the last drought in Kenya, there was huge demand. I come from Marsabit, so when you are on that truck from Marsabit to Nairobi, you find more trucks coming from central Kenya carrying fodders, in hundreds of them in a day. So that's one area where there's huge.
Before you move on, let's come back. So is this such an obvious innovation that it's going to spread on its own, or do we need to really do something for it to get to scale? Is it just about having the market, or is there more to it than that?
No, I think for every innovation, from where I sit, there are three things which are important. One is the product, which is the innovation itself, and two is people. It must need something, and then three is the place. I think they call it the 3 Ps of innovation. So for me, I think in all the pastoral space, in all the pastoral pocket, especially for the grass-dependent, mainly camels or cattle producing communities, the grass one is a no-brainer. So it's a huge opportunity. Once you get the demand, once you get the place to propagate, then there's a good opportunity. It's just the scale currently not very much known, and it's within institution and within smaller groups. So these groups are not connected to any other opportunities for marketing and etc. So that is, I think, is a ready to go innovation. So
the awareness and the connectivity, I'm hearing you say, that's what we really need to pay attention to now.
Yes, I think it's the first part in this kind of innovation is to get the characterization of these indigenous grass seeds right. I think the research part, which is interesting, is already done. We worked with groups, and now the groups are producing these in volumes. So when you reach the volume level, then you need to see how this can be taken up for both land restoration, but at the same time also for marketing purposes. So that, for me, I think is one good innovation that is ready to go.
You had another one that you wanted to share with us as well as this one?
Yeah, I think for me, this might take a bit longer, but I think when you look at when I read around, I see many models which is geared towards predictions, earth observation, to look at above ground biomass, to look at fodder security and all these things. But I think they are all very micro technology driven. I think it need to bring people on board so that when you are defining feed security, these models can be for two purposes. One is it can predict where we have potentially feed shortage in future. When you have a drought, we need to have a longer term, not short term models, but the models that have potential for long term prediction. It's very good to integrate within the bigger drought responses for really creating, again, feed security, because feed became a big issue in the recent past around drought. And I think that also has a potential, but this is very much lab-based earth observation, having a lab in a local area that can document, that can actually give you longer term data. Right now, we only have labs and capabilities of that in capacity, or people to predict and to do that. Facilities are not very much at the local level, like in Kenya. At the county level, you don't have any lab that can actually do that. Yep.
Okay, so you've really zoomed in on the feed and the predictive elements around feed and fodder. Let's say, Dr. Dereji, what would be your top? Let's say, where's the innovation that has the most potential for scaling right now? across the Horn of Africa, perhaps?
Yeah, I think Guyo has touched the core of the land, which is the base of the resource. And then I still focus on the market one. And we need to focus and refocus to really cluster the market and look for, this is an organic product. This is a uniquely produced product. And we need to look for the best markets. And that is like a market platform, a market information platform will be one entry point, reinforcing with grading and the standards to be adopted so that always, your best animal fetch the best price. And that will really continue reinforcing you also to invest on the land, invest on the livestock. I will say the market it's the one which we can use.
Do we have this in? We have this innovation. We have market information system.
Yeah, we have market information system.
What's holding back the?
It's two of the levels. You need really like a very open mind private sector, because it can't remain at the public domain for long. And then somebody who can roll it for a couple of years until it pick up, so that platform fully function. Producer can post. And then also people who need it can post, and an easy aggregation at that level happen. And now you can slowly introduce grading, your requirement you specify with grade, and then the producer can also introduce the kind of grade they have. As we push that kind of like market segment, we create some kind of value for the product. And if people get better value, they invest on their animal. Yeah. Now it's a struggle, even people taking to do anything to their animals, because they just do selling when they desperately need money.
So I think you started by, we need the open mind, we need the business sector, the private sector to really invest in this. Why are they doing that now? Why are they not doing that? What are you seeing?
Yeah, for age, we are focusing on solving the problem from public sector. Yeah. That is the core of the issue. Look, when drought comes, the government want to give grass, want to give whatever an attempt by private sector will die. And that carrying of grass to the dry area will not solve. Anyway, the animal will die. So we need to think differently, where there are a lot of anticipatory actions that can be supported by private, not as generous as a business, because, the system can afford a functioning business.
Okay, I can see, Guyo, jump in on this one, and then Tahira. I can see Tahira's wanting to jump in as well. On the markets, right?
Yes, sure. Yeah, I think on the market aspect, in one of my paper in my PhD, the second paper is called Deciding Without Information. I work with local traders in Northern Kenya, and the issue of livestock market information dates back to the creation of the market information system. It's very much project-based market information system that usually collapses as soon as the project ends. I think what is the required thing is now is to shift. And the second thing is also the quality of information that is there. The information that I saw that in Kenya we use in market information system offers solution for people who want to buy animals. It doesn't offer much to the entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, I would expect to have a displayed order, supply specification, and everything that I can connect to somebody who I cannot connect naturally. And that's what the platform would have given me. But now the current platform does not give me that. The current platform talks about markets in different places, what they offer, the kind of price of animals, the medium prices, the highest prices, and it's only one way facing market information system. So the required thing is to move it so that people who actually do business see the value of paying commission to the platform and using the platform to run it sustainably. Thanks.
So we're talking about not just the business, the private, but it's the entrepreneurs. They really need to be in there. They need to be bringing value, but also getting value. It sounds like it's a different type of equation.
Yes, I think also in terms of designing, entrepreneurs should be the ones at the center owning it, to find what kind of information system will going to serve us and the business that we have. Yep.
So is this just what you're saying? I mean, is this just pie in the sky? I mean, this sounds like a lovely thing to do. Is it something that actually could be made to happen in Kenya's drylands or in elsewhere in the Horn? Is this something that could be made to happen, or is it just, here's a great idea,
No, I think currently the AU-IBA has a project funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on market platform. We're still engaging on this conversation and say, how do you have platform that learns from the previous platforms and have a better platform in future? So, and I hope is at the very early stage, and I hope they'll learn from that and create a platform that serves the future. Thank you.
Okay, good, super. Tahira, do you want to come into the markets or you want to come in? What is the innovation you think has the greatest potential for scaling right now in dryland, Kenya, let's say?
I'll add first on the market thing, and then I'll mention the innovation. Mexico is doing the livestock market systems. In this market system, what they're doing is not just bringing market innovation, but linking with existing institutions. For example, we have veterinary suppliers, like veterinary shops, which are very much embedded in remote area. They're trying to support them so that they can subsidize like the veterinary medicines for the animals. And also they can link the same with feed suppliers so that all the support system for livestock, like veterinary supplies, like feeds, water, all these services are reduced. And the suppliers who are small-scale entrepreneurs within the drylands are supported so that they can provide reliable services to the pastoralists. So this is an example of market-related innovation that can be supported.
So you're back to the entrepreneurs again, and we're hearing about the whole input side, right?
Yeah.
So you talk, yeah. So bringing all that together somehow. Okay.
Yeah.
And okay? That's so we've got the markets, we've got the feeds. What's another big? What else could we scale?
Yeah, just
right now?
to add on that, one thing is also on the aspect of cooperatives. One thing that we always fail is we fail to historicize the innovation that we had. We had the livestock master plan that is recently developed by ILRIS, Policies, Institutions, and People, PIL. The livestock master plan has the plan and the needs for the pastoralists in the dryland. What are in those plans and what needs to be scaled in terms of innovation? It's good to look at. And then secondly, when I was talking about cooperatives, pastoralists and even Kenya, the pastoralist leadership who have been moving with this discussion have been talking about the need for strong cooperative for pastoralists, because this cooperative will help them gain again market coming, linking people to market and making use of the produce. Because what is the essence of having this livestock when we are not marketing the produce? And that cannot happen if we don't have a strong livestock marketing board and we don't have a strong cooperative as related to other goods such as coffee, tea. All these products have strong cooperatives, and innovation could be geared towards strengthening the cooperatives.
The cooperatives. Okay, I'm hearing quite a lot of stuff. I mean, I thought you might have heard a few more real technologies, but we haven't heard. You've been talking more about the markets, feed systems, all about very much systems, markets, entrepreneurs, business. What about, I mean, and we focus quite a lot on livestock because you guys are all livestock type people. Is there anything else? I mean, we've talked about feed security. Do you want to jump in, Dereja? You were waving it. Do you want to grab on this one? Or Tahira, you want to say?
Yeah, one thing also, like in terms of innovation and technology, in Kenya, for example, we have a lot of online marketing, like people can order things online. Is it possible, like this online marketing, digital marketing, because we were in this event called agri-finance, and it was like 99% agriculture focus. Can some of this innovation be brought to pastoralist area, linking them to digital marketing, because we have young people who are very much versed with like technology and mobile phone use.
So you're asking a question. I want you to give me an answer. How could that approach be brought to the pastoral areas where you work, where you're from?
Yeah, it's
what's holding it back?
Like,
what's holding it back?
It's investing in these technologies. Like no one is thinking about it. So that's I'm suggesting like
who investing?
It can be development partners, the government, and research institutions. Like they research into what innovation works in this area that needs to be promoted, because it is happening in agricultural sector, but not in livestock sector. So it needs to be.
I got to go back to Dr. Dereja. He was the one who said we need to bring it out of the public domain. Okay, let's bring us. Where are we on all this?
Yeah.
Beyond feed and livestock.
You know, we all of the three of us, if you see, we are struggling. We are going back to the system.
Yeah.
Why is that? The reason is, let me tell you, we have a market. We can't assure our traders what we can supply. Because for producers, the price is so low that most of the technologies have not been absorbed. That's what. Because you need to prepare your animal for market. It's not paying them. It's not paying them. So that's why Tahira is talking about cooperatives. It is not for production of the whole thing. a cluster, you prepare for your animals that you want to sell, add a little bit of value, look for best price, and that price again reinvested down there. Yes, we agree, all of us, there is technologies, the system is not working. And that's where we are focusing. That's where we are focusing, because the range can be rehabilitated, can produce more, you can produce your animal, and then what? Yeah, why do you dig down the ground if it doesn't add any value to it? So that's where the problem is.
It's interesting because you're coming back, because yes, indeed, all these different fixes we can do. That's the conversation we had yesterday about this holistic. You need to look at the whole system. Guyo, you want to jump in on this one? I think we could maybe do another 5 or 10 minutes or something like that. I don't know what you're thinking.
Yeah, sure.
To see any key points coming out.
Yeah, I think let me explain something. When I was at IFAD, we looked at in IFAD, the innovation is a big thing. And one of the things that we did, which is very interesting, is to produce what we call innovation catalog. So that when you're designing a project, you have a catalog that you'll go and then say, I think this catalog is transferable. And then you go to understand the context and in what context can you transfer that. So one of the innovation, it's fairly new project, I guess, I think maybe like 2 years, actually less than 2 years, is in the crop sector. IFAD somehow innovated, they produced something called e-voucher. The e-voucher is based on the constraints of the farmer. A farmer has a problem of seed quality, a farmer has a problem of fertilizer, extension services, herbicides, all these things. So in the e-voucher model, you have like 7 wallets within the e-voucher, and it's just a Visa card. So, and this Visa card is based on the constraint that the farmer has documented. So what we did, I think, in that case, and I'll bring you to the livestock, is what we did in that case is that we put in 10%, no, 90% at the beginning of the year, or at the beginning of the season, 90%, and 10% is the farmer who puts into a lock. And this card will only be used on 1 acre of that land. A farmer gets good quality seeds, fertilizer, extension services, and marketing and aggregation. So what the farmer does is that he goes to an aggrovate and swap the card. Each wallet, you can only swap each wallet. You can't use money in one wallet for another. So what happened is that at the 2 years of the project or 3 years of the project that was implemented, it did very interesting thing. One, it showed the growth of agrovates. Agrovates actually, because if you get 10,000 farmers swapping in the agrovate, basically it means that you become a millionaire. And you become a millionaire, you're going to open an extension of the agrovate to access more people. So it unlocked both the private sector issue. At the same time, it also unlocked farmers' issue. The third thing is that a farmer gets at the first season, 10% they put in to unlock. In the second season, they do 30%. In the third season, 70%. And in the fourth season, that farmer graduates. It's pure graduation model. In livestock, we did the same now in the new project called KELCOP, which is Kenya Livestock Commercialization Program. We now use the same model and it's implemented in Marsabit, Samburu, Baringo, Elgeyo Marakwet, and others to now try the same innovation, as you say, now transferred to the pastoral context and to see whether you can bring in a private agrovet, a private veterinary doctors. There's no private veterinary doctors because of the mass number of people who are spread across, and government is subsidizing this product. So those kind of technologies are very good. Now it has the e-voucher has gone to M-Pesa now. You don't need a Visa card. You just need a wallet design in your M-Pesa for farmers to access those inputs. It's a smart subsidy. It means money don't get lost until farmer learns and graduate from the work that they did within animal production.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, that's a good example of coming from crops into livestock, and it's, you said 5 or 6 counties. So that could go to the whole.
Yes, because I think
country, all the ASAL.
Yeah, so the crop started with 4 counties it's called Cereal Enhancement Program. And now Kenya has an official policy on e-voucher based on that. Because, and the counties which they have worked, the county governors of those counties are enrolling double the number of farmers that the project has enrolled. So the project did 5,000, the governors do 10,000 or 15,000. So you end up covering 20,000 farmers. And I think it's a replicable, very nice model to put money in the pocket of the farmers, but then also bring the private sector that is really lacking in most of these ASAL counties to the center of the business.
Okay, so it's the money in the pockets and the money in the business, and that's
Yes.
that's the win-win we're looking for.
Correct.
Tahira, jump in on this one, and I think we need to begin to wrap up a little bit. What are your kind of reflections, key recommendations, ideas for scaling these innovations for drylands?
Yeah, and I think one thing also to add on what Kuya said is the index-based livestock insurance is doing what is called bundled approach, whereby you link insurance to other services, like, for example, veterinary services, feed services. So when you are having access to this livestock insurance, you can also get access to these services. So these are the innovations that need to be scaled. Why we're not talking of new innovation is because, number one, even the existing innovation has not been scaled to different places. Like, we need to see how, when we improve, what is the impact? Will it lead to like improved livelihood, improved food security? That is why it is very important. And a good example is moving from agriculture successfully to livestock sector. That is number one. And then number two, to wrap up this, is community. Coming back to my first point, community also have their own innovation. Is like, we need a whole of research to understand what innovation that communities are using and how can we strengthen that. Because number one, it's always difficult to bring new innovation and force people to adapt. But then if it aligns with their practices, it's very easy to, to be trusted, to be accepted, and to be used. So that is very important. Let me give an example. In response to drought management, there is a huge move toward cash transfers. Cash transfer, like social assistance, social protection, all these things. But also communities have their own forms of social solidarity, the moral economy. These practices have helped them mostly when no one is there to help. So how can we make this existing social solidarity known and be embedded in the formal social protection? These are innovations that we need to be linked, because most of the time, everything is happening in silo. These innovations are not coordinated. The coordination of all this innovation and upscaling to different places is something that can bring changes and improve food security for this area.
So I like this notion, this local-led innovation. People talk about locally led adaptation, but maybe we need the local-led innovation to see how we could do something like that. Dr. Dereji, if you want to wrap up, what's your kind of concluding observations or recommendations? Let's say we really want, let's say Dr. Kargeli here, he's responsible for the CGIAR's environment and biodiversity platform. He wants healthy drylands.
Yeah.
What would be your kind of advice for him if he really wants to do something?
To transform the pastoral sector in improving the land, improving the animal product, improving livelihood, we will deliver multiple objectives. It's a climate issue, both adaptation and mitigation. It's uplifting people from poverty. It's also enhancing the land's productive capacity to serve the society. Now, this will not come cheap. Most of the things why we are struggling is, we want a private sector to come in, but we also need a public money be there, or any form of money. And that balance until the things pick up. We talked about livestock market information system. It pick up, the project left, it's dead, because the composition and the way we worked with is not right. And also the ultimate goal, what is, incrementally going somewhere else with big picture. So it's not a cheap thing. We need to work together for long. It's a long-term investment for public, private, and now slowly you will bring in the producers will slowly take the big proportion. As anywhere else, the system needs the public part to accompany you.
Okay, Guyo, some concluding remarks. I'm thinking also beyond the kind of if we were thinking about the health of these rangelands, biodiversity, you mentioned about the grass and all those things, people talk about nature-based, all this, the ecological side of it. Is there something there that we really need to be paying attention to alongside this entrepreneurship and business and all these things?
Yeah, I think yesterday we touched about this. I think because most pastoral areas are very vast areas, it could be 10,000 kilometers square, 20,000 kilometers square, 70,000 kilometers square. And I think innovations that we talk about around rangeland reseeding and getting the seeds and etc. would only work to demonstrate the value of restarting or regenerating a landscape. I think the real value lies in institutional innovation that will support people to exploit heterogeneous, spatially wide landscape, which means the cost-effective way of restoring land in where I sit is using livestock, which is being mobile, accessing area. So I think what we need to pay attention to, one of the biggest things that has been reversing when you come back to restoration of land is the way we develop water. The way we develop water actually sometimes reverses some of the gains that we have gained, because water development is done in isolation with rangeland. And these things are very much interlinked. We hardly have a projected map of what a rangeland look like. Where do you have mismatch between water and pasture? And how do we guide water development for livestock development? Because until we get that link on the rangeland side, that is really very, very crucial. And I think lastly is on most of the innovations are good short-term and they're hidden. They're not accessible. I think one of the clever things is to embed innovations that are through very clear documentation and embed them within government investment processes. And I still borrow from the e-voucher system that has an explicit policy now on e-voucher that government, and e-voucher actually also eliminates corruption. Yeah. So you don't get money, the money goes to the farmer. So in a way, it's a technology that fixes many problems that we always feel we face within the smallholder pastoral system. So I think if we take care of how it is documented, how it is embedded, how it is integrated into the long-term processes, and then treating the dryland area as a unique landscape with its own complexity of all the livestock there and all the issues around climate, around land degradation, really is an important starting point for you to understand where do you start from, how do you take innovation to people. For the rally, it's something FLR, which is forest landscape restoration. It's just a phenomenon. It's just a philosophical way of attracting investment around FLR by expanding. Every country has a target, and they compete around this target. And I think until we get agenda around dryland and rangeland to that level, then investment will be done in isolation, and then you don't get the best outcome of it. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. But I've also heard you earlier. We need to, all those hidden innovations really need to be made explicit and documented.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, Tahira, last words, last thoughts on this one.
Yeah, thank you very much. I am a person fan of Nexus. So within the Nexus programming, what happened is, for example, you have SCI, sequencing, SLI, sequencing, layering, and integrating. As I mentioned, we have multiple innovation. For example, last week at ILRI, we had scaling week, whereby we had scaling for impact program. There are so many innovations that are out there. So how is this made effective is we layer the innovation that build on each other. For example, we have innovation on water security, on land and peace, and then we sequence, we get actors in different settings. Let's say one of UN agencies, research agencies, or even government can take all this, and then we integrate all that for her to have a fruitful impact. That is number one. And number two, on regard to what next in terms of innovation, please let us go back to our innovations and master plans. We have the like livestock master plan. We have, like pastoralist master plan. We have all these master plans, and all of them have great lessons that we need to learn. Of course, thinking about the future is important, but then we have a lot of pending things. Most of the time, we tend to program short-term, and we don't program long-term. That linking the two is very important, because short-term does not give more fruit. But then if we give long-term funding for certain projects, then we'll see the fruit, and we'll also change livelihood and improve food security.
Yeah, thanks, Tahira. Dr. Kalgale, I'm going to put you on the spot. Would you like to come up and join us here for a moment? I'd just like to have your reflections. You're not a livestock person, I believe. Your role in the CGIAR is really advancing biodiversity and the environment. If you've heard all of this now, is there a takeaway message or a piece of advice from your side that you say, actually, you're on the wrong track, you're on the right track. Here's something that I really strikes me.
Thank you very much for this spontaneous invitation, which is sometimes tricky if you are not a good listener. Yeah, no, really amazing, and it's unfortunate. I paid the same price at COP28, by having my event. The last event of CGIAR Pavilion was my event, and people are already tired of listening it. Otherwise, if this has come in the middle, I think you would have gotten additional, you would have needed additional chairs to really to contain the audience. But I think this is being recorded and others, people will probably be able to contribute. Having said that, I was actively listening, and you said it, I come very, very far from the livestock sector. I'm a soil scientist by training and did soil chemistry. But by being involved in the platform, I tend to learn a lot of things. And now that I got the chance to be hosted by IRI, I have even learned more. And I'm a native of Burundi, and I'm from those families which are quite famous in terms of livestock keeping. So I didn't do it as my education, but at least I know what it means. Having said this, I was really listening to you, and I was trying to see what can I pick from here and what can I even comment on, not only for this scope or the others, but really moving forward. If we want to make a significant challenge, if we want to be ready for COP17, which will be in Mongolia, International Year of Rangeland and Pastoralist, what can we do differently? And as I was listening to you, for colleagues who are based at IRI, probably you remember that last year before COP28, the Ministry of Environment of UAE came to IRI to visit us. And we have prepared ahead of time, showing case all the CGIAR innovations, all the CGIAR centers came and joined IRI for the show. We spent almost an hour. We took her around to visit IRI. Then she came up with two things where she wanted CGIAR to do significant contribution in UAE, but also in the Middle East. And I will be frank with you that all the things we had presented, nothing was related to what she wanted. One of the things she was knowing UAE, drylands, and so on. One was, what can we do to support them in terms of wastewater recycling? No one was talking about water by then. And then she talked about palm weevils. Yes. So in terms of plant protection, there was nothing we were talking about. So that was almost talking to ourselves. And bringing you to the livestock sector, I used to work for IIT, the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. And our DG Sam by then used to make jokes. He visited the Uganda, met with the president, and he was talking about crop production and others. And he kind of did a bit of nonverbal communication and realized that the president was a bit annoyed. Then he brought something to say how he can improve the feed quality and be able to improve the productivity of the cows. Then the president woke up and started listening. So always knowing what is critical. I told you my whole life a few things. If we try to see where IRI is based, especially in Africa, and where it's very, very active, it's the Horn of Africa. And we remember about the drought that happened some time ago. And I spent most of the morning going around. There are some interesting innovations to improving water accessibility. If we were to ask ourselves, based on how we lost in terms of livestock, what have we been able to start? And I like the point you make in terms of public investment and others. What are actions that have been taken to make sure that we can improve water accessibility in those regions? One thought of what, some of my comments don't require answer today, but I really want you to take them into consideration in your future project development. What have we done after what we have observed in terms of making sure that we can improve water access to those regions? Secondly, we talked about livestock and others. And when you listen to people, and I'm not a livestock specialist, but I don't know how much it is advocating for. But sometimes we talked about modern breeds because of the productivity and something. And yesterday we have an event about perennial crops. And someone was saying that in terms of the productivity, it may be relatively low, but because of the adaptation and so on, overrun, if you do a couple of years, you may just realize that you are running risks with the perennial crops compared to the annual crops. But my point here is just taking you back to the livestock. Try to see the native breeds, the ones that we are running away because of the modern science and so on. But what we are running away is also the resilience that some of those have developed. What are we doing in terms of making sure? You talked about it, but just to enrich the discussion, to make sure that we are investigating significantly in terms of the native breeds, which are adapted, but doing a bit of improvement. Then I continued taking some notes, and one of them was about the fodder management and so on. And this one I'm serious because I have been asking myself the question. There was severe droughts a few years ago, less in Kenya. Then there was an issue of water, an issue of fodder. Then last year, we had a lot of El Nino rains. If I was a good livestock farmer, I could have done a lot of cuttings, several seasons of cutting, periods of cuttings. The grass was growing like crazy, even on the Erie campus. You do a lot of cuttings. I'm talking about, you were discussing about a lot of innovations. But if we cut, a farmer cuts, they don't even have the right conditions to conserve what they have cut. But what I really want to make is, how do we train our farmers to make sure that when they got opportunities of good rain, rather than transporting from one region to another, how can we train them and say, if you are lucky and you get a good year of rains, make sure that you have this kind of grasses, you cut at this frequency, but and in a very professional way. And this is the methodology you should use in terms of enhancing the conservation of the grass. How much are we doing? That's the question I really want to have to you. The other one was in terms of the markets. I did like the point you made about markets, and then it takes us also back to education. How are we educating our farmers? Because some of the farmers coming from those kind of families, we start taking our livestock like babies and children and so on. Selling them is even a hard time. I remember my first sheep. When my father sold it, I believe I did cry for 2 days. But the problem here, to be serious, is we don't think about it. Most of our farmers don't understand the cost of production of the livestock. How do we educate them and say, if you are raising livestock and so, this is the right timing if you don't want to lose money. Otherwise, if you go beyond this period, you are losing money. That kind of education, how much have we invested in those areas as we talk about innovations? Yes, for livestock, we also know that there is a lot of benefits. As a soil scientist, they provide us with manure, which helps us in terms of maintaining the soil health. So when you think about it, it would not be just the price of the cattle, the beef, the price of the chicken, but trying to see, based on the other ecosystem services that livestock is providing to us, including now when we sell it, how much for how long should you keep it on the farm? Now, to make sure that I don't jeopardize, hijack the meeting, let me wrap up. My last point is really, I did enjoy the discussion. and I think you have a lot to offer to COP17, UNCCD, for the International Year of Rangeland and Pastoralism. And really my key ask is, from all you have said in terms of the innovation gaps, in terms of the innovation, so on, what do you plan to take to for us to Mongolia, especially in terms of the solutions? What would be, not to say that you would have the solutions, but the pathways to the solutions to make sure that most of the issues you have mentioned could be sorted out. So looking forward to really seeing you and listening to you in Mongolia, and making sure that we bring you in first week of the COP so that you can even get more people to buy in what you do. I pause here. I know I have taken more time than you wanted. Sorry.
Thank you, Kargeli. That is really nice. Some good questions. We will reflect on those, some ideas for the future, reminding us about water, reminding us about the resilient breeds. Really, really good. Thank you very much. And not forgetting about the grasses. Fodder. Thank you, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. We are happily recorded. We're going to end the session now. Colleagues, can you stop the recording for us and turn everything off? We're no longer live? Good. Okay, thanks, guys. We have a nice recording, I think. It's a nice conversation. Thank you. Super. Do we want to do a photograph? Yeah. Can we get the photographer in?